Hi, hi friends. Um, in this session, we are going to see what is the difference between string object and string literal. Okay, so actually, created I created I posted a video, a session on this topic this morning. Unfortunately, the in that session, the audio it was disabled. So it seems later I got to know that that session it doesn't have any audio. So that's the reason. Let me I just remove that and I just add the I just in this session I explain the concept and things. I explain the complete stuff, and then let me post it again. Okay, so here we go. uh, this session it's going to explain about the difference between string object and string literal. So let me tell you what is string object. Normally string object, mm, it's an object that can hold uh, a string value, right? It is an object that can hold string value. How do we create a string object? Just by using the keyword new, we create the string object. Um, so every time you create a string object, uh, a new object, a memory for this object, a memory is occupied in the memory is occupied by the memory is allocated for this object. So whenever you create a new object whenever you create a string object, a memory is allocated for this object. All right, so that's about string object. It can be created in three um, it can be created using constructor in three different ways. One is using the empty constructor, and the second way is um, using the constructor that's gonna take one char array parameter. And the third way, using constructor, this constructor is going to take one object as a parameter. All right, so these are all the three ways we can create a string object using constructor. So that's about string object. How do we create the string object? So let's have a look at string literal. So how do we create the string literal? So what is string literal? um, it is again, it is a string. It's gonna the value it's going to contain a string value. So string literal, how do we create a string literal? We don't use any new keyword. We just place the content within the double quotes. Okay, so just to say the format syntax, the keyword string and then the variable name equal to, within the double quotes, place the content. So this is how we create the string literal. Now, what is the difference between string object and string literal? String object, every time you create a string object, uh, separate memory is allocated for that object. All right, wherein string literal, what happens when you create when you create a string literal, uh, string literal, it calls the intern method. And wherein it calls the intern method. This intern method, again, it's going to check uh, whether this string object exists in the internal pool of string. So if it exists, uh, that reference variable is assigned to the current reference variable. If not, a, a new string object is created in the internal pool of string, and then that reference variable is assigned to the current reference variable. All right, so that's the major difference between string object and string literal. So we're going to see this in the program and how it's been used in the real world programming. All right, so let's see. Already I have um, keyed in all the code segment. All right, so let me show. I just run the video and I'm gonna explain here. All right, as I said, like in the previous session, I mean in the this morning I just created this video, but unfortunately the audio it doesn't work. Right, I need to check how it didn't work, why it didn't work. But in that video, it doesn't have the audio. That's the reason. Let me play the again. Let me play the same video and to make you guys understand what's happening in this session. I'm just doing this. All right. So here I have explained what is string object and string literal and how what the creation of both. Okay. Let me show you in the program here. Alright, we are in the ID. Now I just create str. You can see this. I'm just creating the class string. Alright, the name of the class is str object. That's the name of the class. I created a char in the public static void main, and it's been created. So you can see on the screen str object str literal, the class name. Right? I just highlight the class here. Okay. The class is created, and you can see the main method inside it. Okay. Fine. Now I'm going to create the instance variable. I just do string literal. Let me give a name here. So how do we declare the string literal? Use the string keyword and then for the variable name str. Here I give it str, and then within the double quotes you need to place the content, or you need to place the value. So with double quotes, just key in welcome. Okay, that's the I have written learning and it contains the value welcome. Okay, here you can see the one. Okay, here I have the value I give here is again the welcome. Okay, two options. The first string object named a, so I create a string, the keyword string, and then the variable name equal to new keyword, and then again the string keyword. I just pass in the pass in some value. Here I pass in the value like welcome. Okay. String object named welcome, named name of and then one more object named b. Let me create a string object which both have the same value welcome. Now let me check. Here in a variable I set the static keyword so that it becomes a static instance variable. reason I, the reason I be, made it as a static instance variable because we are going to call those variables, each of those instance variable within the static main method. So reference to the static data member. So that's the reason it's been declared as a static data member. Okay, and here you can see I just in the definition here I have using the equal signs, two equal signs, str two equal signs. What does it do? It's going to check two reference variable, take and both the reference variable points to an object. Okay, if that happens, it will return true binary. It will return here I have written the code if and else. You can see it on the screen. I'm just hiding str equal str1. So both the string literal, both are it's going to compare the, it's going to take that reference variable both and whether both the reference variable points to an object. If it happens, it will return the true. Here str does have the value welcome, and str1 has the value welcome. So how the thing, how the string, how is really so when it's literally wherein in turn it's going to check in the it's going to check whether the string object does it exist in the reference variable, wherein when we create the str single new string object and it's been placed in the internal pool of string and the reference variable of it is assigned to the str. Now we have when we get the str1 equal to welcome, the second string literal is created. What happens again for just hold on, yeah. Now we get a string literal, we give a pass value welcome, and this now the when we create a string literal, it calls the intern method. Intern method in turn is going to check whether this string object exists in the string. Obviously it's going to it got to know that it exists, right? So once what it does, so it's variable of that string object and assign it to the str1. All right, so variable points to same object which is in the internal pool of string. So that's the reason when we do the if condition str and str1, it's going to return the boolean value true. I believe you got it. Okay, so can you write down here next to the if condition saying that both the reference the variable points to the same object. Both the reference variable str and s1 points to the same objects, same string object. Both the relation str1 points to the same string object. Okay, here the both the string are str and str1. Okay, fine. Here it is true. So the output would be str equal to str1. Just highlight the command line. Okay, okay. Str equal to str1 colon false is let's have a look on the string object. So how now if we apply the same equal sign for the string object, let's see how. Okay, now I've highlighted a string object. How do we create a string object using a new keyword? Okay, new. So we have created two objects. One is a. So how do we create a string and then the keyword string and then the very keyword string? Within that we the constructor we pass in the welcome. Okay, which should be within the double quotes. Okay. Finally, I have created one more string object named b, which contains the same value, welcome. So I'm going to apply this if condition. String it will obviously it will if I apply the equal sign for this string objects it will equals. Why? String a every I mean string is allocated for each and every object. So a is for string object a is allocated, for string object b a separate memory is allocated. So obviously equal sign is going to both are available to a single object. Here in string objects it will never happen because both the reference will point separate object, right? So it will return false. I'm just you can see the on the screen I'm just typing if for a equal just you can see in the else condition. Let me I'm done with the strict. Here we check for if a equal b equal b or else false. So what so this if condition you don't check that both the reference variable a and b points to a single object. So that would be a equal to false because it doesn't point to they both points to a different object, right? Because object create an object. Why create a new object? Use a new keyword, we use a new keyword and that object that exists in the heap memory. And also you know the equals method. Yeah, that's been equals method of a string that's been used. This equals method it is used to check the content. It will check whether two strings are equal based on the content. Equals method will check only the content of both the strings, and if it is equal then it will or else you can out. um, yeah, here you go, you got the output. The str equal str1 equal false. All right, already explained. Str1 equal to str equal str1 equal to true. Why it is true? Both singles as a single object, right? And wherein a equal b, both are string objects, so both are defined objects. A equal b, the output would be a equal b false. Fine. You can please do subscribe to the channel Java Track, and please click on the bell icon, the remote and post. If you like this session, please share with your friends and well wisher. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.